back to the Sad Dad Games podcast. Today we'll be doing a bonus episode for Death Stranding 2. This will include...
Bonus!
Yes. This will include lore cleanup, like how did we get Neil visions from the Odra deck, a correction on tomorrow's Nirvana shadow from last episode where I pooched it a little bit, I think.
Shan, how embarrassing.
Yeah. Right. A hidden Easter egg inside of the plate gate seam hole that we just barely discovered. Why I think Dia de los Muertos, the conflagration setting, I think that was actually a day of celebration. And then we'll have an open discussion about the story overall and its impact on us. We are your hosts, Shan,
Eric,
Tucker.
So hit
Tucker's
hit subscribe, and let's dive in. Guys, I don't know if I can do these long intros if you're not even going to pay attention.
I was paying attention. He's talking to the viewers. You guys need to pay attention. We were doing great. Me and Tucker were on point. Yeah.
All right. Well,
I only interrupted you a tiny bit. That was mostly Tucker's fault. Yeah.
I was celebrating bonuses and whispering.
Really,
right.
If you think about it, Shan, it's probably your fault for not pausing for us to be hilarious and add, colorful banter. That's probably on you.
It's my fault for not pausing and then you not adding anything funny or colorful.
You just leave these long pauses. What am I supposed to do?
You tried to be friends with Toby, and it was like being
yeah.
friends with an angry snail. Or an evil snail.
What if you took a moment and you expanded it into infinity? That's impossible. You can't do that.
Can't even imagine that.
All right. So... so how did we get the Neil visions from the Dollman acting as the Odra deck? So did we even talk about this yet? I had a theory on how it worked.
So this was one of the questions I had written down to ask because I feel like this is one that we didn't answer and I don't all the way know. So
I've had this in a text chain with you and Shan, with Eric and Shan, and now with just Shan, and I've ruminated on it for a while. Mm-hmm. It's a thinker.
Yeah,
I'm sure Shan figured it out.
Well, no, I sent Tucker a bunch of texts with images of I think this is the mechanics of how it worked. So I don't think I've changed much since that. But basically, Sam would connect to the pod. Dollman's Ka was connected to the pod. Then, through Dollman, Sam would connect to Neil via Dollman in the in-between jumping space. This is elucidated when they show them all in a circle. And we take a jump into Neil's mouth. So Dollman is in that in-between jumping space with Neil. And so they're able to share each other's cause and memories and stuff like that in that space.
Well, yeah, Dollman is a medium.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, when I just realized when you're coming back right in that in-between space where everyone is in a circle, when the DHV Magellan is being transferred from one side to the other, when you see Neil there, I believe he's floating right above Tomorrow.
He is.
And so I wonder if because that's Tomorrow's old pod, or if that's Lou's old pod that Sam is wearing, if there's some kind of residual connection there that makes when Sam connects to that, he's able to kind of sort of connect through to Lou. And then in-betweener space to Neil as well.
I think it's pretty fair to say that Lou, after being dropped off in daycare in Nirvana, and then Fragile Nirvana daycare, and then Fragile escorting Lou to the Dia de los Muertos Nirvana and putting her in care of Neil. I think it's fair to say that Neil and Lou share this existential bond that was maybe solidified through Lucy or something like that.
Yeah. I like that idea, and it makes sense why Neil would be in that in-between space, why he'd be floating near Lou, and why when you connect to Lou's pod, and then there might be some residual chiral kind of leftover materials or whatever that make it so that when you're connecting to that in-between space, you're connecting to things that are connected to Lou, hence Neil.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah.
They don't explain it explicitly, but that makes sense to my brain.
Well, and there's plenty of times where we see Neil in the seam floating upside down, like after he dies from the void out, it shows him, and then he looks down, and through the fog and mist, you see Baby Lou in her Dead Space Nirvana from A Past 4000 Nirvana. So, like, obviously, like we've talked about how these beaches and these Nirvana spaces all kind of overlap on a single, like, on there are multiple planes of existence, like a multiverse, as Hartman explained in Death Stranding 1. But because of that, I think that's kind of explaining how Neil is able to kind of see through these realms and see Lou on that space. But that also helps us understand and explain how Dollman is then able to connect to Neil when they're all sharing that in-between space. They all are just sort of connected.
Yeah, and it also makes sense at this level of the Death Stranding where things are folding on each other so closely now as it continues. I think that tracks really well.
Yeah, the last Stranding is supposed to be like, because the Death Stranding was the event where the boundaries of life and death became permeable, so death was able to spill into the real world. And the last Stranding is supposed to be the convergence of all beaches that tears a seam open and allows the Death Stranding to finish its job. So all of these beaches are all kind of like on top of each other and layered like a trifle, as Tucker would say.
Layered like a trifle. Yeah, and I think that also there's this moment that we see flash back to is the moment when Neil dies, or right before he dies, and then voids out. And that void out that happens is very significant to Sam. It kind of is what put him on his path. And so I wonder if there's some kind of, if they were connected in that moment. And so when Sam is connecting to the other side via Dollman, that's just something that naturally comes up is he's tapping into some kind of connection that happened on that day. Was it like 11, 16 years ago, something like that?
Yeah. Plus, they're Eskimo brothers, so that probably has something to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. No, but just to Eric's point, the void out, we know people that die in the same area at the same time share that beach. And so I think there's...
And technically Sam died there and then repatriated. So.
And so, I think Sam and Neil's connection is actually probably a lot closer and tighter than I originally thought before we started this conversation.
Interesting. I like that.
And it's all because they're Eskimo brothers.
And if you don't know Eskimo brothers, because they both banged Lucy, so they're connected.
I feel like that's an It's Always Sunny thing. Is that it?
No. That's from The League.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you ever watch The League?
I watched I think I watched probably the first half of the season or something with you guys. I have vague memories of it. I don't remember pretty much anything about it, though.
There's the EBDB, the Eskimo Brothers database.
Yeah. That taco starts.
Yeah.
Great. I love it.
Like, I'm not really that into sports personally, and and that show goes raunchier than I'm even comfortable with most of the time. But I also loved, what's his name? Jason Mantzoukas.
He's just solid gold in
Rafi.
everything. That guy is so funny.
I'll watch him in anything he does, but they let him do whatever the hell he wanted in that show.
Yep.
And he has no boundaries, we've learned. All right, so after that, so now I'm just going to kind of step through some notes that I've taken throughout Death Stranding 2 on lore that I can't talk about until the game is over, or things that I had questions about but I needed to revisit after I had a gestalt of the entire game. So first of all, there was a vision near the beginning of the game where Amelie returns to Sam and then returns Lou to him. Turns out that this was like a literal vision, a vision of a literal event that was going to happen. So we can put that one to bed. We understand what that means now. Why did Fragile have the chiralium eyes at the beginning of the game, right before she transported?
Well, because Lou was the one that transported her, so why did Fragile have the tar eyes?
I don't know that I have a perfect answer for this, but people with the tar eyes, we've seen Cliffhanger, Fragile, and Tomorrow, and Higgs, I think, are the only ones. And so we seem to
they
get
were
the
saying
Carvallian mice.
Die Hardman had them, didn't he?
I don't remember.
Didn't Die Hardman have them when he did his dance?
I thought so.
Oh, Die
Or
Hardman. He has a tattoo.
He has a tattoo, but didn't he also? Hang on,
Maybe
I'll
look
look it
into
up
that.
while you're chatting. Yeah.
But anyway, I think that Fragile definitely has those Carvallium or like tar tears when she's in the Nirvana space, and that seems to be the most regular cause of people getting these eyes. I think Neil also had them. Is just they have been filled with, like, their bodies are filled with tar, similar to like the mannequin ghost mechs that are able to transport and stuff, and that helps them carry a car or something like that. And so I think it's just like a way. Well, not only that, it's a way for us to distinguish when we're dealing with dead fragile or not, or something like that. It helps distinguish. It's like when Amelie wears a black dress versus a red dress. It's like, okay, black dress, she's acting on behalf of, and her role as an extinction entity versus being a warm caregiver and someone who loves Sam. So that's part of it. But
So it looks like he does when he's. Sorry, I'm going back to the thing now. I was looking at some pictures when Die Hardman is doing his fantastic, amazing, completely wonderful dance. It does look like one of his eyes is dripping tar, and I cross-referenced it with like another where it's just his tattoo, because the tattoo goes about halfway, down his cheekbone, and this one, while he's doing his dance, it looks like it's going all the way down his chin and neck. So, yeah. So he does cry tar for some reason.
Yeah. I don't know that we have a perfect answer for when they have it or when they don't. Because it's not like when they're always dead. It's not when they're always from Nirvana. It's not always because they traveled through the tar, because not everybody gets it. Like, it's just not a perfect answer. I think it's just when he wants somebody to look badass.
Yeah, it's not Dooms related because we know
It's
Die
not.
Hardman doesn't have Dooms.
Exactly, yeah.
So, Hideo, why don't you shoot us a comment? Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. We know that you're watching, so.
Okay, so to revisit lore from the first episode, why was Sam platinum blonde? And I wondered if it maybe was to line up with Louise's hair, because she was blonde and Lucy wasn't blonde, and we needed one natural blonde. It's not necessary because it can be recessive. But I didn't know if
it looked more white than blonde to me.
It looked more white,
Yeah.
unless you were aging into your blonde hair and it's starting to turn white. But back to my original speculation that this was a reference to Lord of the Rings where he ages in an instant. I thought maybe he is stuck looking at that pod and his soul is kind of like peering down and connecting with Lou on her realm of existence. And Lou, as we know, enters a chrysalis and then ages like 20 years in an instant. So I was curious if like maybe his Ka connected to her Ka, and when she aged, he aged with it because he's aging that. I don't know. Like,
so based on the limited amount, like I searched it up again now just to make sure that, because I had looked this up a little bit and I read a couple Reddit things and the AI response and like just fairly limited research, but the general consensus online for this seems to be that he committed suicide or unalived. I don't know what we're allowed to say. That Sam.
We're allowed to say suicide now.
Okay, so Sam had committed suicide multiple times after Lou's death, and that caused a strain on his Ha because of that, and caused his hair to turn white. But also something that I thought was interesting is that he might have been, doing this repeated, committing suicide to search for Lou on the beach.
That's interesting.
Or maybe it was just out of grief. But the thought process
of those.
Yeah, searching for Lou on the beach, similar to what Hartman's been doing with his family. So it's an interesting thought.
But like, I don't know, Hartman kills himself every 3 minutes and he's not aging. Maybe repatriation is different. I just personally didn't like because he's killed himself so many times. He also dies like 10 plus times with Higgs, and like he just gets kind of tired and needs to take a nap.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, part of me is also, there's the adage that, like stress makes your hair turn white, you're going gray, I mean, I don't know. Part of me thinks there's something there, just this grief and his Hana's car is going through so much stress and anguish right now that there's got to be some physical representation of that.
It's like Ray Wise's character in Twin Peaks when he's been grieving his daughter, and he does he expresses in weird ways, like dancing around the room in circles aimlessly,
all by himself.
But then he suddenly healed one night, and his hair turns white the next day, and then he just starts singing and dancing everywhere he goes, and it's ridiculous.
You know what? I'm looking at some pictures here. So Sam has blue eyes, like Norman Reedus does.
Yeah.
But in this picture where his hair is white,
extra
his
white.
eyes look significantly lighter than they normally do.
It's
I'm wondering,
almost deathly.
Yeah, I don't know what connection that has, but it looks like his eyes are deliberately lighter when he's got the white hair than they normally are.
And we did, in that same scene, have the moment where he's looking at the pod and it has that animation within his eye, and I don't know if that's also expressing it's aging his Ha in some way. But anyway, let's put that one to bed. No official answer. I'm sticking with Lord of the Rings answer as my favorite answer.
Well, Lord of the Rings answer is always the favorite answer.
Yeah.
When in doubt, you go with Lord of the Rings theory. Yeah.
All right, so this is something I alluded to at the beginning of this episode. I talked about the Nirvana shadows and how the shadow behind Tomorrow was probably her own self with her hair in a bun. And then I thought about this the other day that, when going back through the hospital, we saw Sam kneeling by the hospital bed because it was a memory Neil had of this moment. And then I thought, well, wouldn't we have in the Conflagration episode a Nirvana shadow of Lucy? I thought that would be a fantastic Easter egg. And so I went through, I scrubbed the whole scene, and I thought, wait a second, I think the Nirvana shadow might have actually been Lucy. It's hard to say because the Nirvana shadow actually is a little bit shorter. I would have anticipated being a lot shorter, but it's a few inches shorter than Tomorrow. And the hair's in a bun, which young Lucy has her hair in a bun the entire scene. But then I thought about this, where they're walking in that same path at the beginning, but at the end of the scene, Tomorrow ends up under a pillar of rubble, exactly like young Lucy. So I think she's actually following in the exact steps as her mother.
And so that would make the Nirvana shadows the actual people, or
yeah, the Nirvana shadows
still memories, but just that particular one wasn't one of Tomorrow. Okay, I can buy that.
Yeah, I think this one was actually young Lucy as Neil, because she was in this tragic event, and so she's imprinted on this liminal space.
Well, and it would make sense that Tomorrow would feel some kind of a connection to that particular shadow and might develop some kind of her own routine of walking around with that one because of some kind of unspoken connection, because it's the memory of her mom.
Right. And the only thing that dissuades me of this is that she does get caught under the exact same pillar. It's the exact same model of a structure that she's pinned under, but she gets pinned under it in the graveyard or the cemetery, but Lucy gets stuck in it in the middle of the town. So it's a different location technically, but they both at least end up under rubble. So I still feel like she's shadowing her mom's journey.
Well, and I wonder if there's some kind of to what extent Neil's subconscious dictates the things that happen in this realm. And if that's something that he would the moment of that rubble falling on top of Lucy was significant to him, his subconscious might manifest that as an occurrence that happens over and over again, regardless of the specific location. So,
yeah, I mean, that is one of Neil's biggest, I guess, guilt in his lifetime.
That was his first big mistake he needed to arc from.
Yeah, and so I think that definitely tracks for me. Just Neil, this is going to be on top of Neil's mind or subconscious over and over and over again until it's redeemed.
Yeah. So if this scene is playing on a loop, Groundhog's Day style, then he's continuously failing Lou in the same way that he was failing Lucy. And so she's stuck on his track of his guilt that he needs to redeem himself
fall in
from.
love with his producer.
Don't
Isn't that
do
what
it.
breaks the cycle? I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yep, that sounds right. They throw cards into a hat and they fall in love. Yeah.
All right, so now I want to talk about the life cycle as we can understand it from Death Stranding 2 of the Cryptobiotes. So in the game, there's some research that's been conducted by Tarman, and it's revealed that cryptobiotes undergo complex life cycle, including multiple metamorphic stages. The chrysalis stage. After maturing around land-based coral, cryptobiotes from chrysalises and transition to a space between the world of the living and the world of the dead. So no chrysalises have been directly observed in the wild. I realized that even though it's written that way, there is an insert in like the last or penultimate chapter where we see a jar of cryptobiotes that I assume Tamara was eating, or the jar from Sam's room or something like that. And we just see broken chrysalises. And I had talked about that briefly, how I thought that was symbolizing Sam's loss of Fragile. But now we know why they were empty. They were transitioning in this chrysalis phase to the angel bug phase, but the cryptobiotes transition to the in-between blue space that they jump through while they're turning into angel bugs. Then they come back to the chrysalises. So
Okay, sorry. Say that again. So when they're, I want to understand what you're saying. So
cryptobiotes floating around.
Yep.
Then they enter chrysalises. Then the cryptobiot transitions to the in-between seam space where they're jumping. That's where they turn into angel bugs, which are those floating ghostly chronobiotes.
Yep.
And then they come back to their to their chrysalises.
Okay. So part of their metamorphosis requires a crossing to the other side, which, okay.
Yes. Which
So do
we know
we
that
see them in chrysalises ever? I'm trying to remember. Do
Well,
we
that's what I
see
was
those
saying. We only see the
chrysalis?
chrysalises once, and it's in the jar right after Fragile dies, and it shows it right after Sam runs off because he finds out Fragile's dead.
Interesting.
So we also know that angel bugs, or these chronobiotes, are formed by like what's it called? There are these microbes that come from like the beach, and they're the microbes that create extinction entities and stuff like that. So
Yeah, that's what ties the cryptobiotes and the extinction entities together. Yeah.
right. So it seems like they're transitioning to that in-between space, being infused with these microbes, and then they're coming back. So angel bug phase. After several years or even decades, they eclose from their chrysalises and appear in the world of the living as angel bugs. An imago, which is a final adult stage of a winged insect, which is a word you'll never have to learn. And
Too late. Already
Yeah,
learned
you
it.
taught us. Yeah.
and they resemble pelagic sea angel fish. So, and this stage lasts roughly 7 days.
Yeah, I was just going to say that they really reminded me of pelagic sea angelfish. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
Yep,
obviously.
exactly.
I think
What
that's
does
the-
pelagic mean, Shan?
I looked into this word. I didn't. Let me look up pelagic again. Relating to the open sea,
Okay.
inhabiting
Good.
the upper layers of the open sea, as such.
Oh, what about the lower layers?
I don't
if
know.
it's the mid layers, is there a different word?
Yeah.
It's midlagic. Yeah.
Opposite of pelagic.
No, not opposite. There's like a top, middle, bottom, right?
Yeah, demersal zone.
Demersal. Okay. Well, good. So we've got your pelagic fish and your demersal fish.
Yeah.
And these cryptobiotes, they look more like pelagic ones. So if you were curious about that, you've got that detail cleared up here. Yeah.
And even the pelagic zone is divided into epipelagic, mesopelagic, bathypelagic.
Oh, damn! Mesopelagic?
Abyssopelagic.
That's my jam.
Hadopelagic.
Abyssopelagic. There's too many zones. You don't need that many zones. Pelagic suits me just fine. I'm going to work that into my everyday vernacular.
All right. So we've seen these
There's
angel
a marine
bugs.
biologist listening to this somewhere, just having a fit.
Yeah, George Costanza, the marine biologist.
Costanza. And that day, my friends, I was a marine biologist.
Top 3 best episodes of that entire show.
Yeah, I go with easy big fella all the time.
You know what? I have only ever seen like 2 episodes of Seinfeld. I've never sat down and really watched through it. I tried to one time, and the first season was kind of slow, and then I got busy with other things, and I never got back into it. I think I need to try again and start on like season 2. But Seinfeld is one that I just kind of missed the boat on and never have gotten around to it.
So you need to watch the marine biologist episode because it is probably one of the greatest on-screen storytellings, and just it's amazing.
It perfectly takes George Costanza to the absolute most depraved ends of his neuropathy. Such that there's once he starts a lie, he gets so committed to the bit that he just digs down and doubles down, even when everybody knows he's lying, to the point where
doesn't matter.
Until the point where his lie becomes truth and he becomes a marine biologist and saves a stranded whale.
Eric, I'm sending you the.
Well, here's the thing. I'll just watch the show. Because I feel like I need to because I know the characters, right? Everybody knows the characters. I haven't been living under a rock, but I need to know the characters for that. For me to really appreciate the episode.
It's version 1 of It's Always Sunny. It's Always Sunny wouldn't exist really without Seinfeld.
Season 5, I think it's 5, has the collection of some really good episodes. So solid place to start, especially if you know the characters already.
Well, and there's Seinfeld's one of those shows where you can start anywhere. It doesn't really matter, right? Yeah,
mostly season 3. That's the best. Starting point if you want to skip the boring stuff.
Maybe I'll give it a try. I'll just start on season. There's 9 seasons? 8 seasons?
Yeah,
I think it's 9. Yeah,
cool.
I think it's 9. Yeah.
Well, I love me some 90s comedy. I like Friends a lot.
Well, this is the first
similar. Yeah.
This is the oldest best comedy. Everything before that, the laugh track, if it doesn't work without the laugh track, I bet I would probably like it. Something, what's it called with Ted Danson? Happy
Cheers.
Days? Cheers, that's the one.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
Probably
well,
like
Ted
that
Danson is just, an impressively charming human. He could be in pretty much anything and just be like, well, that was great. Yeah.
Yeah, Cheers, I think, has a lot of cultural relevance that you just... I didn't really realize it. It started with Cheers with so many things. The Will They, Won't They really took off with Cheers.
Sam and Diane, is that what it is?
Sam and Diane, yeah. And then...
And then the Will They, Won't They reached its worst in Friends, where it's after 2 seasons of Ross and Rachel, I don't care about either of these people anymore. They deserve each other. I hate them both.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, back to the metamorphosis.
No, I want to talk about 90s sitcoms more.
CryptoBytes. All right. So there's the fetus bug phase. So we see the angel bug at one point land on, I think, Sam's hand, and then the angel bug coating burns off of it, and that's what would turn it into the fetus bug. So angel bugs shed their skin and assume a fetal form known as fetus bugs and believed to inhabit the tar for several years. The details of their reproduction remain a mystery, as neither angel bugs nor fetus bugs display reproductive organs. They didn't need to say that part. I was also curious if...
Maybe they're teeny tiny.
Yeah. So this is what Tarman says
is... mine.
Tucker can relate to the teeny tiny reproductive organs of the tiny cryptobiote bugs. Yeah.
So Tarman says this is the life cycle as they know it. I was wondering if maybe them going into the tar after being a fetus bug is what turns them into necrobiotes. Possibly. Cryptobiotes are theorized to have adapted their metamorphosis in response to Death Stranding, paralyzing the theory that insects evolved to survive ancient climate shifts. Their capacity to travel between worlds has led some to speculate on possible origin from the other side or even a divine nature as suggested by their angelic forms. So, the reason I'm bringing all of this up is because I might have already alluded to this in a previous episode, but they hint at, Tarman hints at it once or twice, that tomorrow undergoes cryptobiosis. every time she enters the chrysalis. So she is essentially like, if we wanted to understand her and how she survived and all that stuff, we can basically just kind of compare her to the life cycle of a cryptobiote, and we kind of understand better what was going on.
So, go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to say, it makes sense as like as cryptobiotes being tied to extinction entities, and tomorrow is an extinction entity, so it makes sense that their life cycles would be similar.
Yeah,
right.
I think we completely glazed over Lou being an extinction entity in the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
But
oh gosh, did
anyway,
we? That's a big
didn't
point.
come up
Lou is
organically.
an extinction entity. No, we talked about it because we talked about how she took Amelie's place and that Higgs was trying to use her to bring about the last strain. I think
but we didn't talk about it.
Yeah,
but we didn't completely ignore it. So somewhere in between.
Yeah, so this is where I'm plugging this question here because I don't know if we're going to get back to it or not. But tomorrow's like octopus tar suckers that are all over her skin.
Mm-hmm.
Like we see in that rash. One scene. Yeah, and I mean, we don't really... The game doesn't really emphasize it after that side of things. So I didn't know... I'm at a loss here of why the chiral rash was such a big thing at first and then just kind of faded off into the background the rest of the game. Part of me is like, okay, is that how she's jumping between the tar, like excreting tar from these and going in and out of the scene?
So this isn't tar specifically because it's acidic and it ages things. It's kind of like somewhere between
that's right,
tar.
because the tar comes out and then it ages Fragile's hand a little bit, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So this is somewhere between... This is like timefall secretion almost. There is one point where they talk about, in some deep lore, how there are D and L amino acids. If I'm not confusing them and getting it 100% wrong, I think L amino acids are what all life on Earth would be derived from, but then the chiral inverse of that amino acid is the D amino acid. And this is where Tarman's talking about, like, well, they're discussing, like, is she human or not? He's like, yeah, she definitely has human DNA and is definitely human, but her secretion was D amino acid in her chrysalis. So that is what helped protect her in the world of the dead and stuff like that. And so I think maybe those amino acids have something to do. And that was the moment where I was also talking about the primordial soup of the tar.
Well, I wonder if the chiral rash is a side effect of her being in her chrysalis. Like, that's because there's such a high...
That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, that there's such a high rate of chiralium and kind of a metamorphic process going on there that it gives her a chiral rash.
So, I mean, could we also just assign or ascribe that to why tomorrow ages so rapidly, where Higgs does not? As she is constantly surrounded by this
actually
stuff
have
that's actually aging her.
I actually have a crazy theory for this. I might have maybe I already pitched it to you. Yeah, I pitched it to you in the messages, but not on here. So I actually am now coming back around, and I think maybe Lou did die or came super close to death, which is why she passes out in that APAS 4000 Nirvana. And then Fragile escorts her to the Dia de los Muertos Nirvana, and at that moment she enters a chrysalis and ages like to what I think is age 20. And the reason I believe that is because Amelie was an extinction entity and she bifurcated from Bridget at age 20. And I was thinking maybe there's some ridiculous maybe this is just a coincidence, but I think age 20, it's like that's how old the extinction entity was. And when these chiral microbes were infesting her in the Nirvana space, like these cryptobiotes that turn into the angel bugs, I think that it was transforming her into the extinction entity, and then she adopted the age of Amelie, who gave up that role at age 20.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so was looking up Lou's or I guess tomorrow, as she's called.
She doesn't have an official age.
It doesn't have an official age, but everything I'm seeing here says late teens, early 20s, 16 to 20, 20. you know, between
I think
18 and
20
19.
tracks.
Different, but not really.
Yeah.
20's the most likely for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if there is some kind of correlation between the age of extinction entities, like from Amelie and Bridget's bifurcation and, tomorrow emerging from her chrysalis at age 20, there's maybe something to that.
Yeah. And Tomorrow also enters the chrysalis every time she's like in extreme danger, because it's a cryptobiosis, which is like how cryptobiotes survive in the vacuum of space and extreme cold and stuff like that. So I think her entering the chrysalis as baby Lou meant that she was near death. So I think that kind of helps us understand officially Lou didn't just kind of fall asleep randomly. Lou almost died.
Well, I think that Fragile rolls off of her little unicycle bike thing, and they fall pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
And for a baby, that would be a tough fall. And I think that she's holding her, and I wonder, Fragile gets shot from behind. Maybe the bullet somewhat pierced. No, because we don't see we don't see any evidence.
I thought about
so
that,
that's not it either. Yeah,
I think it's the rolling that would do it. All right, let's move on. So why were the Mechs on a pilgrimage at the beginning of the game going through the Plate Gate to Australia? And I think it's because they were delivering Higgs back to Australia after murdering Lou, and this was the fastest travel method, even more than just traveling through the tar.
Yeah. I think just the motif of a religious pilgrimage is kind of a red herring.
Well, and I think it's just an opportunity for them to do more weird cultish religious imagery surrounding Higgs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it builds intrigue, right? When you're playing at the beginning of the game, you're like, what is going on with these things? And so I think I agree. I think that they were doing, transporting Higgs back to Australia faster than the tar. Also, Higgs is kind of a diva. Maybe he's like, no, take me to Australia. I don't know.
Yeah, Higgs is definitely a showman.
Yeah.
He's not going to have a sweet flamethrower guitar weapon if he's not a showman.
The coolest guitar, the coolest weapon probably ever in a video game. Let's just get that straight.
All right, so let's revisit the Plate Gate in the seam hole. So Sam sees himself in the Plate Gate reflection, similar to the tar fall reflections, but those were drenched in tar and such. So I didn't know if that meant anything, but probably not, because I think that was Neil kind of projecting something to
the reflections aren't always Sam. It was only Sam once. One time it was Sam, one time it was Neil, and another time it was Lucy. Yeah.
Also, wasn't Sam young Sam and not current Sam? So Sam as well. Neil's memory of Sam would it be?
That's right.
When he was a BT floating over.
So in the Tarfall instances, I think they were all projections that were significant moments for Neil and Sam, and that's why when they came together, that we got to experience the crux of those moments within each of those Tarfall chapters. So I think that this Plategate thing is different because it's just a straight mirror image of Sam as he is right now.
Yeah, except I did a spot the difference this time around, and his pod is blackened, but the mirrored version shows transparency mode for the Lou pod, so you can see Lou inside of it.
Weird, because supposedly Lou has just been a figment of... Well, but if Sam is looking at the reflection, I guess that's the one he'd see, is his reflection.
So it's possible this is alluding to Lou being alive in the other world or other realm and is able to see real Lou, or it's just part of his delusion. But I think maybe it's alluding to Lou actually existing.
Yeah, that's sneaky and subtle.
Also, in the reflection, it shows it's reflecting 100%, real life that's directly behind him, but it's showing BTs like a whale that is swimming upside down, and you could just see them full color swimming in midair. And so I think these are real BTs that are overlapping the earthly plane, and this chiral mirror from the Plate Gate is just revealing that they're literally right behind him on a different plane of existence, because all these beaches are kind of overlapping the real world.
Well, it's like a mirror and
like
almost
reverse
like a looking
vampires.
Yeah, like there you go, like reverse vampires. I was gonna try to explain it, but that is exactly what I was. So yep, reverse vampires. That's
Yeah. So when he goes through the Plategate portal, Lou isn't on his person, and I guess you could kind of read into that a little bit, because if he were traveling to Australia, maybe that should have been your first sign that Lou wasn't real, because it would have been with him.
no. Your first sign is Dollman telling you that Lou isn't real. Freaking Dollman
Ruined the entire premise of the game.
I will never stop complaining about that. It was I
Bad decision.
nothing but respect for Kojima and his writing chops, but that singular thing just kind of kneecapped what could have been the best reveal of this game. Such an unfortunate thing.
I can't even like understand why it was like useful, other than understanding what Sam's arc was in the story. But I don't even feel like that's good
Also,
enough.
to be fair, I don't know if it's Higgs. I think it's Higgs. He also points it out too pretty early on, that first boss battle.
Yeah, but he didn't need to. That's the point. None of these people needed to.
Did he point out that the pod was empty?
No,
I
so
don't
what
remember
happens
that.
is he touches the pod and his hair floats, and he's like, oh, that's interesting. But he doesn't say why it's interesting.
See, and
now we
that's
know
fine,
it's because he can
that's-
sense that Lou's not in there.
Well, so but here, and this is while we're talking about this, the whole Lou thing. What? So there's a point where Sam brings the BB pod to the doctor, who can like reach into people's tummies and stuff and pull babies out.
And
The
bullets.
the doctor pulls and bullets. Yeah, the doctor reaches into Sam's BB pod, right? And I don't
Yes.
remember exactly what happens, but like what is happening there if BB's not in there?
She understands BB's not in there, and she's like, oh, I get it. You're going through grief. And that's when he challenges her, and he's like, so you're just here to tell me that I've got issues? I already know that.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
She doesn't
Yeah.
say why.
So I think that hinting at things like that is fine. You know, because you're hinting
That's
at a reveal.
that's
is
foreshadowing.
whatever.
That's very important.
is foreshadowing. That's important. What Higgs does, also maybe getting close to being on the nose, but not so much. But then Dollman just straight up says it, like very near the beginning of the game, and that's frustrating.
Yeah. I would have preferred everybody else did exactly what they did, but take Dollman's reveal out. Because you need foreshadowing for payoff to be great, because then you go back and you're like, oh, I could see it the whole
You're
time
like,
if I were paying
oh.
attention. That's
I don't-
fantastic writing.
I don't like Dollman. I don't like anything about him really. I think he's dumb, and I don't like him.
it's a cool suit.
Well, I mean, sure.
All right. So
That's not true. I really like how Dollman is animated. There we go. That's one
There
thing.
you go. Yeah. So the detail I alluded to at the beginning of this episode that we didn't notice the first time we played is at the end of the Plategate seam hole, we see the big 5 extinction entities as we thought they were. But if you zoom in super, super close on that animation, they're all stiff figures except the middle one that walks forward and is holding a baby and places it down on the ground. And it's the exact animation of Fragile placing Lou on the ground before Amelie pushes him down into the seam.
Yeah. So Shan sent us all of this stuff like in a group chat. Was it earlier today or was it yesterday? I don't remember,
Yesterday.
but it was yesterday. I was looking through this and I was like, oh my gosh, how did we not, like, what a cool detail. How did we not realize that in the middle there, you know, Fragile is holding the placing that extinction entity, the new extinction entity in that lineup. So cool.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, it's foreshadowing that Lou is the new extinction entity and is taking spot right there in the... There would be 6, but that would have been too obvious. So just having it be hidden right there in the middle is interesting. It also made me speculate for a minute that maybe the 2 on either side of her, they could have been... They were the extinction entities, but I was curious, like, were these the skeleton soldiers that escort her and Lou to... and so maybe they weren't Neil's smugglers. Maybe these were the extinction entities incarnate. I thought that would be an interesting deep lore.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no evidence to support that outside of just speculating,
Right.
but I think it's a cool speculative theory to, like, Well, what are these extinction entities doing now? When they bring about one of the extinction events, do they just disappear? Do they keep living? Do they get repatriated as something else? Like, is it really like one Ka that has inhabited multiple Ha's and has just kind of come back at reincarnation style every time to be a new extinction entity? Like, we don't hear a lot about the other extinction entities, mostly just about Amelie and now Lou/Tomorrow.
All right. I went back to Death Stranding 1. We see the big 5 extinction entities floating outside of the cave right in the prologue of the game. And they're translucent on the earthly plane because Sam couldn't see them with his level 2 dooms. But going back and looking at that image again, they were the big 5, but they represented as BTs on the earthly plane instead of human form. So we didn't catch that the first time we played the first game. And then the big 5, as we see them whenever Sam's naked on the beach, or maybe I at least know it happens at the end of Death Stranding 1. We didn't catch this before, but if you zoom in super close, the 4 on the sides are just like these same models that we see in the seam hull from the plate gate. But the one in the middle is, and I think they're all models of Sam in black, but the one in the middle is Sam holding Lou as a baby outside of the pod. And it's so far away you couldn't really tell. But so these big 5 have constantly been like represented in different forms, or they've been Sam's model or something like that. So they're always projecting what the beholder understands or is dealing with, or something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I love the idea of looking into this and speculating wildly, but I wonder also if in the first game, if they're Sam's model just for convenience. They're just like, yeah, just reuse Sam's model.
But the middle one holding Lou, to me, tells me...
See, and that's deliberate, right? So they needed like 5 humanoid figures. So they're like, well, let's just use Sam's model. But then the middle one being significant, holding Lou.
But then this entire story revolves around Sam and realizing that he's a cog in a much bigger wheel. And so it's like when I realized the shadow by the bedside was Sam, or when like that giant statue on the beach was probably a model of Sam. Like, I think Sam is just hidden throughout this entire game because he's so important to the Death Stranding. Anyway.
No, well, yeah, and I mean, we're seeing this world through Sam's eyes. And so if there's some kind of like when the extinction entities need to manifest themselves in a corporeal way, seeing them, like the beholder seeing them in a way that they can understand, maybe a reflection of themselves. That makes sense.
Yeah. There's a couple moments in the game where we have foreshadowing of Sam getting Lou back from Amelie. There's the Amelie vision on the DHV Magellan holding a baby. We didn't know if this was baby Sam or baby Lou. It turns out it was baby Lou, and is foreshadowing her giving Lou back. Then the Amelie dream in episode 3, she's dressed in black, so she's representing extinction entity status. And it was foreshadowing getting Lou back at the end, because at the end of this, she pushes Sam down. And in the original game where this happens, we see his big blue naked butt because he ain't got no soul. But in this version, it replaces Sam after he falls in the water with a baby hand. So this is representing that she is going to, help get Lou back in the real world. Like a repatriating Lou, but not literally. All right. Did I talk about on the pod the Dia de los Muertos, what day it occurs on, and why this matters? I did with you guys.
I think we briefly touched base on it when you did the whole reveal of the desert town that's all buried. I think we briefly talked about it, but
like in the first episode or something like that, second episode that we recorded maybe.
Okay, so I'll just kind of like go over it a little bit again, but kind of with more details. So Dia de los Muertos occurs on November 1st and 2nd. Sometimes decorations stay up for about a week after. Death Stranding 1 released on November 8th. So his birthday on November 9th was strictly fan theory, but theoretically, Sam was born in 2019. So I think Kojima wanted to say 2019 release day is the day that Death Stranding started, which would mean that's the day that Sam was repatriated because it caused the Death Stranding. And all the events take place up until 2050 in Death Stranding 1 and then probably 2051 in Death Stranding 2. So we're roughly in 2051 in the second game. Sam was roughly 21 years old then. If he was born in 2019, the events happened 11 years ago where there was the void out with Lucy and Neil. So that would mean it took place in 2040. So Sam would have been 21. And I think Lucy was probably about 30 years old. So there was an age
Good
gap.
for you, Sam.
Yeah, exactly.
Sound.
That's a really good cougar sound, Tucker.
Thank you.
So there's this age gap between Sam and Lucy of about a decade. And so child Lucy and child Neil were approximately 10 to 14 years old. So in my opinion, theoretically, Dia de los Muertos event occurred the day Sam was born. And so it was a cause of celebration. Death decided to spill into the real world because the imbalance of Amelie's beach from repatriating Sam. And that's why Neil and Lucy got caught in this situation. I think that day specifically is the day that Sam was born because of the age gap.
Well, I also really like the idea that there's another through line of connection between Sam and Neil and Lucy. Mm-hmm. Like that their lives seem to be tied together, little things keep going. So the idea that this very pivotal moment for Neil and Lucy is that also the day that Sam was born. You know, it's all, there's evidence for it, not explicitly stated, but I like that as a piece of headcanon, that there's just one other little thing connecting these three people.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I really appreciate it's a literal Day of the Dead. It's
yes.
not just, which is just very cool.
That's why
I want to point out, I appreciate that writing.
It's like an Independence Day when they fight off the aliens on Independence Day, and the day gets new meaning.
Yeah.
This is what it was, the Day of the Dead, and then it was actually the Day of the Dead, and now that day has new meaning.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. So later in the game, we see Fragile stopping Tamara from sucking her thumb. So this is a fun allusion to her babysitting Lou as a baby. So fun little moment there. Let's see. There is a moment where...
yeah, go ahead.
There's a moment where Higgs is fighting Tomorrow, and he rolls up her sleeve for 1 second during the fight. So we find out that Higgs has been running around to Sam's shelter and collecting details, stole Tomorrow's hair. He has this whole theory of, like, this is baby Lou. And during this fight, halfway through the game, Higgs rolls up her sleeve for half a second to see if the heart tattoo is on her arm.
Yeah, the little birthmark thingy. Yeah, well, I was going to ask, is this a good time for me to go through my list of all of the things that the hints that Tomorrow is actually Lou?
Yeah, go for it.
Do it.
So as I was going through the game, I stated in the last episode, I think, when Tomorrow fights Higgs for that first time, I watched her fighting and how she was moving around. I was like, oh, it's like a kind of, she's like doing things, transforming between the world of the living and the dead. Like she's stuck in between those two worlds, sort of like a BB. And I was like, oh my gosh, BB-28 is Lou. I wonder if Tomorrow is Lou. And so from that point on in the game, I think it's not a crazy thing to predict. I think that if you're paying attention, a lot of people would pick up on that. But from that point on in the game, I started paying attention to like other little hints and things that point to that. And so obviously big one, hair color, eye color, same as Lou and Tomorrow obviously have the same hair color and eye color, but I wrote that down because I was excited about it. And so after that fight with Higgs, Tomorrow is putting her shoes back on, and Sam is being uncharacteristically soft towards her and helps her tie her shoes, much like a parent would help their child tie their shoes. And so like a little like, oh, this is Sam's daughter, just kind of little tiny things pointing towards it. They also like with Fragile and Rainy. Tomorrow chats a lot with those people, and they were talking a lot about Tomorrow's family, and like it just seemed like they were deliberately drawing attention to like, well, do you have family on the other side? What were they like? Do you miss them? Do they miss you? And it just seemed like they were drawing attention to like, well, because Sam is her family. And then Tomorrow, the bandage thing that Shannon just said, she's got a bandage where to Lou's birthmark or tattoo or whatever it is, and Higgs tries to pull it up during that one fight. And one time, so there are 2 times that we see Fragile using her little motorcycle unicycle thingy bobber. It's at the very beginning of the what?
I have this one written down too.
Oh, nice. See, same page.
Yeah, same.
It's at the very beginning of the game when she's trying to escape with Lou, and then there's another time where she's bringing Tomorrow, kind of helping Tomorrow charge into battle to save Sam when Higgs is doing the guitar flamethrower death over and over again thing. Fragile comes riding in with Tomorrow on the front of the bike, and it's like those are the only 2 times we see Fragile use that. It's like it's a blink and you miss it thing, but I felt like it was deliberate to be like, the only time Fragile uses this, Lou is a passenger and Tomorrow is a passenger. Just little visual cues to be like, hey, these are the same person. So I thought that was sneaky.
And this time, she doesn't die and crash.
She doesn't roll off and die. Fragile skids, and Tomorrow jumps off like a badass and then punches the crap out of Higgs.
And I love that poetic parallel of like, first time goes poorly, Lou basically dies. This time it's like everything goes right, and they're getting their revenge on the exact person that they fought at the beginning of the game.
Yeah,
but
love it.
But Tomorrow as an adult is just taking Higgs to town.
It's a good parallel, good mirror images, that things that like, unless you're looking for it, or if you've already guessed who Tomorrow is, or if you've already played the game before, things that you might not really recognize or see. But I love that there are these little things sprinkled in there. Let's see. One of the times when you're in one of the like the Tarful chapters where you're fighting with Neil, Neil falls down and he says, "Lou, where's Lou?" And I wrote down, you found Tomorrow in here with him before. Maybe he's looking for Lou. Like, and we've kind of hypothesized that maybe Neil has been charged with taking care of Tomorrow. And so the fact that he was very vigilantly looking for Lou is another hint that like, okay, he was there with Tomorrow. He's calling for Lou. Maybe they're the same person.
But what I like is that you think that he's delusionally looking for baby Lou because he's stuck in the past. Turns out he was literally looking for adult Lou, who he knows is there.
Yep. So really cool little nugget if you're looking for it. After the flamethrower incident with Higgs, Rainy and Tomorrow and Sam and Fragile all have like a big group hug, but the only person that Sam actually has his arms wrapped around is Tomorrow. Everyone else is kind of hugging around him, but he goes to hug Tomorrow first, which is like almost instinctual. He goes to his daughter, even though he doesn't really know that she's his daughter. And then Higgs at another point says, "Your darling little baby is waiting for you." Why would he use that phrasing? And then obviously the big one, when Tomorrow goes into the sky vagina and then falls out as Lou, you're like, oh, yep, that's the same person. And that's pretty much all I've got. But those are a lot of little Easter eggs that if you're looking while you're playing the game, you're like, there's a lot of little tiny things pointing towards them being the same person. And I thought it was fun to kind of look for those. I always got really excited when I spotted a new thing that I was like, maybe this means that I'm right in my theory. So I really enjoyed guessing the theory beforehand, like guessing, and so that I could kind of keep my eye out and look. And then when I found out I was right, I felt very like, I was super pumped. Even though it's not like a crazy reveal, I feel like a lot of people might guess it. I was still really excited about it. It was fun for me.
Mm-hmm. You also get, while Higgs is lighting Sam up with the guitar, every time he dies, well, not every time, but it jumps into Sam's throat as he's traveling to and from the seam, and there's a tar-eyed BB in his throat. So this is Lou at the beginning of the story also had the tar eyes before moving Fragile to Nirvana, and Tomorrow always has these tar eyes when she goes into attack mode. So all 3 stages, they've had these tar eyes.
Speaking of attack mode, how in the hell did Tomorrow learn how to fight?
From Higgs.
Yeah. She, spent a lot of time down there in Nirvana, took some self-defense courses.
But she is like defenseless in Nirvana. Yeah. Like she wants to get out of there.
I was gonna say like maybe she knew how to fight before, but she was
a baby.
Her skeleton was too fragile until Rainey healed her.
I didn't really think about that. It seemed like it seemed kind of just like a hand wavy Kojima moment where he's like, I want her to fight and be cool, and so she did. Like,
I can get behind that. I didn't think about it till literally we were talking about it just now.
Yeah.
We wondered in the last episode whether or not it was symbolic that Lou aged instantly. We've already kind of touched on it. I think she actually literally did age within an instant because Higgs doesn't age on the beach, even though he was there for like 10,000 years. So
that is one point that I initially disagreed with Shannon. I was like, no, I think that she aged. Like that's why she's older. But then Sam brought up that Higgs had been there and he hasn't aged, and that's when I started to think about it more. And I think I've come around to your way that I think that she did almost die, and then they put her in that chrysalis and she aged almost instantly. That makes sense to me. I've kind of come around on that. I think that unless presented with other evidence, that makes sense in my mind.
She still could have been in Nirvana with Neil for like hundreds of years theoretically, but she would have been that age 20 the whole time.
Yeah. Same as his.
Now, this one, I don't know that I have a satisfying answer to. How did Fragile know to deliver Lou to Neil? You have any thoughts? She just grabs baby Lou and she's like, you know what? I'm going to go deliver this to somebody I've never met before.
Well, what does Fragile say when she's like giving her a little, or maybe it's Die Hardman is explaining what happened. Don't they kind of explain what she was doing? What do they say? I don't remember exactly the wording that Die Hardman used, but I think that they might have at least slightly explained that.
Because my guess was Neil could see baby Lou from the seam, so we see this animated again while he's looking down through that fog of the seam. He sees baby Lou in the A-Pass Nirvana, and maybe he sent his smuggler friends to go escort Dead Fragile to retrieve Lou for him so that they could transition to any space, and he was stuck in his space of Nirvana. So maybe soldiers go out there, bring him back because he can't travel. Well, I guess he travels in other ways, but he maybe can't travel to that location specifically.
I mean,
I don't know if I have a good answer for that.
Yeah, I mean, Neil is able to bring Sam to places through Tarfall. So I'm wondering if there's a similar mechanic there of Neil is kind of Lou's guardian angel in a sense, and is okay, like I can bring you here to Nirvana with me in this instant, and that's, I don't know, maybe something there. I don't have a great answer, but like to me it feels like Neil kind of watching over Lou from the other side makes a lot of sense.
I think so, because it shows that happened.
Yeah. And so I think it's just, where does Neil come in on this transition between our world and this Nirvana world, and how much influence does he have over where that is?
Yeah. All right, so that's it for me on lore. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Besides that, I found one more bullet point about a clue pointing towards Lou and Tomorrow being the same person. There's a part where Rainey is brushing Tomorrow's hair, and she starts singing Raindrops, and then Tomorrow joins in and starts singing Raindrops. She goes, you know this song? And it's because Sam played that song for Lou when she was a baby in the bunker. And so she's remembering that from that time. So that was another thing where it's like, how would Tomorrow know this song? It's because she's Lou. So
It's a
There's that.
catchy ass song. That's how she.
And it's a cat, and
It's
it's one of those
everywhere.
ones you hear it once.
Yeah, it's like Hey There Delilah. It was there for a summer. You couldn't get away from it.
That's the next
And
echelon of
there-
songs. Is it's Raindrops and Hey There Delilah. Yeah.
I specifically remember "Hey There, Delilah" being played at our it wasn't senior prom. They played it at a lot of dances. That song,
And every
was-
single
it
dance
was
for
everywhere.
every time, all through high school, every single dance. Yeah, it was that and the what's the Usher song where the
Yeah.
is it just called Yeah?
Yeah, it's called Yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
That
It's
was
not-
at
I've
every
Got a
single
Feeling.
dance too, which is a song that is straight up about sex, like for a bunch of high schoolers. And it's not subtle. It is overtly about like going to the club and picking up women. And
Yeah.
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 they're like, all right, high schoolers, grind up on each other. Yeah.
One of the
That's-
cringiest things that I've ever done was learn "Hey There, Delilah" and play it for someone. If I could go
that's-
back and
that's
delete
tough.
Same. I've done that. Yeah.
that same song,
Yeah, of course. I can
If
play
I
it on the
can-
guitar and the ukulele.
if I could go back in
Whoa.
time and
I know.
delete something from my memory or from ever having happened, I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
So I went to a Plain White Tees concert a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And
How are they doing
by the
these
way,
days? I feel like I haven't
Actually,
heard
I
from
was-
those guys in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very surprised. Like some of the more recent stuff kind of rocks. It really, really hits.
Are they? I didn't know they were still making music.
Are they coming
Yeah,
back?
I don't know if they're coming back.
I'm gonna check it out.
Anyway.
I used to love Plain White Tees. I'm excited by this news. I didn't know they were still
Yeah.
writing music.
Yeah, go check it out. Yeah, put on a pretty good show.
All right.
But
Sweet.
anyway, part of their like encore song was "Hey There, Delilah," and
course.
completely acknowledged they're like, we know the song was everywhere and everybody was sick of it, but we're going to do it anyways.
They have
And
to.
it just made me so happy they realized that this song overtook the world in the worst possible way.
Yeah.
And they don't care.
And they don't care. Yeah.
And it's going to be stuck in your head for months. Yeah.
It's like how you have to play the Monster Mash at Halloween.
Yeah, you just have to.
It's just have to.
It's just one of those songs. You hear it one time and it's in your brain forever.
Mhm.
We have my daughters are really into the K-pop Demon Hunters movie right now, and
I went
I
through
will
a
never
prolonged
get those songs
K-pop
out of their
phase.
brain. Yeah, those
Okay,
songs
yeah,
are in my brain
Solid
forever.
soundtrack. Yeah, that's how I feel about Miss Rachel right now. Is I just have Miss Rachel songs going through my head 24/7.
You've said that a couple
I-
times. My kids never watched Miss Rachel. What is Miss Rachel?
So it's a
Wow,
YouTube
really?
channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's
It's
why my
actually
kids
probably-
don't watch YouTube.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the better kids YouTube channels.
It's
But
the most-
it's
It's one of the most educational.
That's
yeah,
good.
While being
See,
accessible.
I don't let my
Yeah,
kids
it's
because
not-
they're
yeah.
old enough to like get on their tablets and do things themselves, and I don't really. I'm too scared to just let them loose on YouTube, so they have like it's like kids Netflix and Disney Plus accounts and stuff like that. So
yeah,
Yeah, I want them
YouTube
going down
Kids
weird
is pretty
rabbit holes.
solid. But yeah, it's not all other. I feel like all other kids YouTube channels are just Baby Shark with different worlds,
the
Yeah,
and
worst.
that's it.
Alexis
kids-
finally broke that algorithm, but we went through a
Nice.
Baby Shark. Like everybody ripped off
heavens.
because Baby Shark is in public domain. Like the ones that made it famous don't own that song. It was like a camp song before that or something.
Yeah, I used to sing it when I was a kid. Well, my kids recently discovered we had like cousins come to town and visit, and they're a little bit older, and so my girls like think they're the coolest people ever, and they showed them some YouTube videos about a duck and a lemonade stand. Have you guys ever heard those ones?
Yes.
And the duck walked up to the lemonade stand and he said to the man running the stand, "Hey, bop, 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 got any grapes?" And every time I have a quiet moment in my head, that song bursts into and accosts my mind, and I can't take it anymore.
It's like that scene in Inside Out while
Yeah.
in the first one where the song
Yeah,
keeps coming back.
the gum commercial. Yeah. Yeah, that song for me is the stupid lemonade duck song because my kids listen to it 800,000 times in like a week long period.
Tucker, what's your most revisited old YouTube video?
Oh, revisit old YouTube video. Ooh, it's hard because on my YouTube now is either YouTube golf or podcasts.
You're so cool, Tucker.
For me, it's Charlie the Unicorn
That's
And-
Classic.
and old Greg.
Yeah,
Old Greg.
Definitely
Yeah.
old Greg. Yeah, that's-
Old Greg.
that's
I'm
the
old
most
Greg.
visited.
I'm old Greg.
I haven't watched
Do
Old
you
Greg
love
in
me?
forever.
Do you
Yeah.
think you could learn to love me? I don't know you. Make an assessment. I use make an
Think you
assessment
could ever-
all the time. Make an assessment.
Could ever learn to love me? I don't think it works that way, Greg. How does it work? Explain it to me. Do you want to see my downstairs mix up?
As soon as we're done
I got
recording,
him
I'm
in
going to watch
China.
Old Greg. Yeah, I have forgotten pretty much all of it. I haven't watched it in forever.
Oh my
And
god.
it's Noel Fielding, isn't it? I'm pretty
It's
sure.
Noel.
it is.
Yeah, I don't. Is his last name Fielding? Yeah, the guy from like
from
the
IT
IT Crowd and British Bake Off, and yeah, he's super funny.
Yeah, millennials had the best YouTube era.
We really did, and we're not
Yeah.
biased at all.
Yeah, everything
It
now
is
is just
Fielding.
poisonous
Nailed it.
and not funny.
It's like I feel like nowadays viral videos. It's like I every once in a while I'll sit next to Liz while she scrolls through Instagram, and it's like all I want people falling down, dogs/babies being cute, and people getting scared. That's all I want from the internet anymore. And what's all this other stuff? I don't need any of this other stuff. Just show me people getting scared and dogs/babies being cute. That's all I want.
All right. The internet is like 80% conspiracies now. It's
Yeah.
the economy of the internet.
Yeah, really wish we could get back to just random YouTube.
Where's
videos.
Homestar Runner? Let's all just have a mass
Homestar Runner's
like.
back. Homestar
I know.
Runner is back.
I know.
Yes.
I just and that's all we need. Just get rid of everything else and just only make that the only thing that's available, including us. Get rid of our platform. All Homestar Runner all the time. That's all that
sounds right
matters.
to me.
Yeah.
So innocent and just like back at time where like things didn't have to make a statement. They didn't have to like be tight. Like they were just pure innocent and existed for the masses.
They were
And
just fun.
everybody connected. Everybody knew it. Everybody loved it.
I just
Yeah,
remember in
because-
middle school, like quoting strong bad emails at my friends, and which it's like that's how my humor has developed. All I do now is like quote TV shows. People listening to this podcast are just like, are these guys actually funny, or have they just watched The Office too many times? Like,
Yeah, I don't have a personality or a sense of humor. I just have movie quotes.
Yeah.
That's it.
just regurgitate humor that I've heard before.
Yeah.
No, I made the realization early in my life because I was somewhat antisocial. I had a struggle connecting to people, and I realized, oh, if I just watch a shit ton of television, it is the lubricant of conversation to be able to connect
That's how
to people
Shannon
that
and I became friends.
yeah. It's a verbal like it allows you to communicate more fluidly, but also if you don't know what to say, you can just inject quotes. So it not only gives you something to relate with, but it gives you something to just like use as verbal crutches when you don't know what to say because you lack originality. And people then just believe you're funny because they also think that thing is funny, even though that's not you being funny. That's that being funny.
It's just quoting another person who was being funny.
That was perhaps the most sociopathic way of describing that
Yeah.
phenomenon.
Shan has reduced friendship and communicating with people to an algorithm.
Yeah.
Which is not how people with ADHD or autism or anything like that think.
It's completely neurotypical. That's very normal of you, Shan. Good job. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so I wanted to revisit in Death Stranding. We talked about briefly why was it satisfying that we get Lou back when that's really just a death that was, they gave back Lou after killing it. And it's like, well, is that satisfactory in
Yeah,
literary
why wasn't it
terms?
cheapened? Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And I think we found a good answer. I wanted to elaborate further based on story structure, mechanics, and why this works. I think so. I have here, it obeys the internal logic of the narrative, pays off established thematic and emotional arcs, and uses foreshadowing rather than arbitrary reversal. So foreshadowing and thematic preparation. The narrative plants clues about sacrifice, substitution, and the fragility of life early on. Fragile's protective role, her physical and emotional resilience, and her willingness to endure pain for others are all developed beforehand. This primes the audience to believe that someone must pay the ultimate price, so when the twist reveals that it was Fragile, it feels like an inevitable fulfillment of prior setup, not a sudden deus ex machina. Then there's the narrative perspective and misdirection. The apparent death of Lou is filtered through limited in-story perspectives. Characters believe Lou is dead, so we do too. This is an example of unreliable focalization rather than dishonest authorial trickery. Obviously, AI wrote all of this, right? The truth is hidden.
I don't know. It kind of sounds like you.
A little bit.
Authorial trickery. I think that AI has learned how to talk like Shan is what I think is really happening.
Yes, I have become machine. Yeah. So the truth is
Explain hidden. Again how you make friends by using TV, Shan.
It's all algorithmic, you dipshit.
I use my algorithm. That is what I heard from Shan.
All right. So the truth is hidden not because the writer withholds information arbitrarily, but because the characters themselves are misled. So they believe Lou is dead, so we believe it. It's not like they just like cut up the scene and splice it in a way that's convenient to conceal information from you. We believe what they believe. So that's satisfying. Higgs actually thinks that Lou is dead, so he's committed to the bit of her being dead up until the end and the reversal.
Until he gets eaten by a giant baby, and then he's like, oh, maybe she's not dead.
In literary terms, that's a difference between concealment, which is permissible, and withholding, which feels cheap. The audience is allowed to share the character's mistaken belief until the moment of revelation. There's the emotional and thematic payoff, so Lou surviving fits the story's core themes: connection, endurance, and the passing of hope to the next generation. Fragile's death is not a substitution that undercuts tension, instead it deepens it. We lose a beloved character, so the narrative still delivers an emotional cost. That price paid keeps the resolution from feeling unearned. So we had Lou who died, we already suffered the grief. If we just gave back life, it'd be like, well, then I suffered for nothing. But we've already suffered death and grieving, and Sam's entire arc throughout this game is dealing with grief from loss. So when we substitute Fragile in Lou's place, it didn't feel like we wasted all of that energy for no reason. We still just we just direct it now to Fragile and continue that pain, and it gets deeper and more meaningful.
Yeah, I like the idea of like redirecting grief so that it's not wasted emotions. I think that's yeah, you mourn Lou. You mourn the loss of Lou. You think that Sam's lost his daughter, as people who we're all fathers of daughters. That's something that really hits home as a big gut punch. And so this whole game, we're feeling this pain with the protagonist. And then finding out that she's not gone really is like this huge relief and this huge joy. But it doesn't feel cheap because there was still that sacrifice with Fragile.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's a little bit more than just it's not just Lou for Fragile. You have Lou plus all of Lou's childhood years plus Fragile. That and maybe I'm just a little bit more sensitive to it because I'm in the middle of, raising a daughter, and so I'm probably a little bit more hypersensitive to that part of it. But for me, that's why it still feels like a loss. There's still a loss with Lou. Like I personally in the game mourned missing out those years with Lou than Fragile actually dying.
Yeah. But I like Sam still losing time with Lou, even though he didn't lose Lou. Like she's back and they get to be together now, but Lou's all grown up. Like he lost that time with her.
Right. And Fragile did pay a cost for that. I love that. I don't know. I like that. I think Kojima's intentional. Like, even though Sam himself never blames Fragile, and we never get a hint of that throughout the entire game, you as a player, obviously, I think everybody universally probably blames Fragile and is a little bit
super bad about it later. Yeah.
And so just like that reversal of like, she took my child from me to she's the only reason that my child is alive is like this huge gut punch of like guilt of like, how could you ever feel that about a hero, Yeah.
Chef's kiss of just like giving you a gut punch and flipping the script for just, well, and even for like I said, I guessed one of the big twists that Lou was tomorrow. And then Dollman told us another one of the big twists that, the Sam's BB pod was empty. And so even knowing like some of the big twists coming up, this is one that I didn't expect. And that felt like elicited an emotional response for me, was this whole like the way that I felt about Fragile was not only like unfair, it was completely incorrect. That exactly what you said, Shan, that it's like not only she's not the reason that Lou is gone, she's the only reason that Lou is still here. And it's just
very
like,
powerful.
Dagger to the chest, very powerful emotional moment, extremely well executed, and I didn't see it coming at all. It was super effective.
Yeah, and you play out another scenario where Sam never leaves Lou. Higgs still would have come for Sam's shelter, and who's to say it would have played out differently? Maybe the only reason that Lou is alive is because of Fragile.
Yeah. No, I think so. I think that Fragile is the only reason Lou is alive.
Period. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then final point on that was there's the internal causality and fair play. The revelation that Fragile sacrificed herself follows from her established agency and motivations. The story didn't invent a last-minute loophole. This adheres to the fair play rule in narrative theory. The ending must be surprising, yet inevitable. Surprising because we thought Lou died. Inevitable because Fragile's character arc and prior actions made such a choice believable and inevitable.
Yep. I like, that's a super inevitable or surprising but inevitable. That's what makes a great ending to a story. Is where you go, I can't believe that happened. But then when you think about it, you're like, of course that happened.
Mm-hmm. Then, let's see. So moving on from that, I have some open-ended questions, but I also wanted to touch on one reason that I really love this as a sequel. And I couldn't find the right word for it, so I had AI help me find it. But the concept of like getting a sequel where it's not just like I have the exact same story or the exact same world and I'm just slapping a new story on it. It felt like he took the effort to create as much lore and as much of a new world as he did in the first game, but it works perfectly in the original, recontextualizes it, and makes it deeper. And apparently, the term for this would be a transformative sequel. It goes beyond simply continuing a story by building upon foundation of the original work in a way that significantly alters or redefines the characters, themes, genre, or the overall direction of the narrative. Here are the key characteristics of transformative sequels. There's a shift in genre or tone. They may introduce a new genre, shifting from, for example, horror to action, like Alien to Aliens, or a more grounded story to something more fantastical. This deepens or recontextualizes existing themes. A transformative sequel might explore the central themes of the original with more depth or present them from a different perspective, often challenging the audience's initial understanding. So the original theme of the first game of Death Stranding was connection, and Sam arcs from being isolated to connection, and then just kind of gives up on that at the last minute to go take care of Lou. But he still generally believes in the thesis of connection. And in this game, we take his arc and we challenge it head on. And we say, is it really worth being connected? Because, and we say, what if we challenge you with the worst thing you could suffer, which is the loss of your child? Do you still want to be connected? And I thought his arc wasn't as strong as the first game because he kind of just meanders through his arc until he gets his child back. But I think his arc is kind of capitulated by the moment where he kisses Fragile, and that like enters us into the third act, and it establishes that he has chosen connection to deal with grief rather than isolation. He has a fork in the road. He can choose isolation from loss, or he can choose connection from loss. And him choosing connection, it's basically him challenging connection, which is exactly what he did in the first game, but it's putting in completely new variables and saying, do you still believe this? Does it still hold true if it's this much more complicated?
Yeah, I love the concept of like taking similar themes, but do you still believe this? Like you said, I think that's great. I like the general scope and the depth of lore. Like when you're playing the first game, it's a very complex lore, very interesting things, but you get this kind of like slice of the world and the story and of understanding of what's going on. And that's enough for the first game. Like it feels pretty satisfying to like have this chunk of knowledge and of lore and of what's happening.
And it feels complete.
It feels complete, exactly, yeah. And then you play the second game, and the camera just zooms out, and it's like, okay, there was this in the first game, but now there's all of this other stuff that feels transformative, that doesn't feel like it's taking away from the original, but building upon what was already there and changing things in interesting ways. Where it's like you had this, like you look back on the first game, and it feels like you almost had these blinders on, like a narrow view, and then in the second game, it opens up these floodgates, and it's like, you thought that there was so much going on in this world, but there's so much more, which is a lot like our real lives. We live in this kind of like, we live in our lanes and we live in our worlds, and it's like, this is my sphere of influence, this is what I'm doing, but there's so much going on outside of us that we can never fully grasp and understand. And I think that's one of the things that makes Death Stranding 2 so special, is because it takes that theme of connection and that theme of like, of being together, and it blows it up and it expands it in a huge way compared to the first game.
Yeah. I have more examples. I'll get to that after I finish these other thoughts. But another example of this, characters challenging their arcs from the first game. Fragile went from vengeful to merciful when she lets Higgs live. And then the second game, they directly challenge her only arc from the first game, which is, well, yeah, you think that's a perfect, easy to digest message, but what if you being merciful caused the death of your loved one's child? Do you still believe that? And she actually reverses her arc from the first game and says, no, there's something more important than mercy, and that's protecting your loved ones. So she maybe hasn't unlearned it per se, but she's learned that there's a hierarchy, and if you understand that priority, you would have done something differently the first game.
Yeah, it's the Batman argument. There's like a moment where I think like one of the kids who used to be Robin comes back as like a pseudo villain kind of a thing, and he's speaking about the Joker. He says, "How many people have you indirectly murdered by letting this scumbag live?" And it's kind of that same argument.
Yeah. In addition to what a transformative sequel has, it expands the universe or lore, so we already talked about that. It reinvigorates the franchise. It can breathe new life into a series, captivating existing fans and potentially attracting new ones by offering something fresh and unexpected. In essence, a transformative sequel acts more than just a continuation. It functions as a reinterpretation or evolution, leaving lasting impact on how the audience perceives the entire work. So examples would be Godfather Part 2, which is not just a continuation. It deepens the first film's themes with a dual timeline structure, shifting perspective from Vito's rise to Michael's corruption. Go on, Tucker.
Oh, no, I was going to say, like, we did a really good job identifying this between The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2. And why Part 2 is so captivating, and why there was such, I guess, I don't want to say backlash, but the fan base was so split on Part 2.
You can say backlash. There's a lot of backlash for Part 2.
I mean,
Last of Us 2 is the most divisive game I've ever seen in history.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it is, I mean, I'm going to argue that it's a transformative sequel.
It is transformative.
Yeah.
Completely.
But in an interesting way of when you talked about attracting new crowds, is it attracts a new crowd because, I mean, it's very different than the first game. As far as first game is wish fulfillment, and we've torn this apart in earlier episodes.
Yeah, but
of our
people listening to this haven't heard us discuss it, so you can talk
they
about
should. Go watch the last.
What do you mean they haven't watched every single episode? How dare you?
We go from this wish fulfillment with Joel in the first game, where you're just going through murdering everything, and then there's this, Joel in the second game, spoiler alert, where gets killed right at the beginning.
Did you say wiener, wiener, wiener?
Yeah. Wiener, wiener, wiener.
Did he just say skinny wieners? Heavyweights. Everyone should watch it.
Yeah. I can't remember the point I was trying to make.
No, so we talked about like The Last of Us Part 1, it was wish fulfillment and it was narrative transportation because it challenges people to put themselves in a situation they wouldn't be put in and gives them the game medium to be able to explore how do you feel about this philosophically and morally and all that stuff. And then the second game, what I don't think Neil Druckmann understood is that he said, well, I personally as a writer was really into the narrative transportation, and so this whole game, the second game, it completely disregards the 50% of the audience that was there for the wish fulfillment of just feeling powerful as Joel as a form of escapism. And it says, well, I'm going to use this story as narrative transportation to try to teach you perspective, and that, you know, the cycle of violence is complicated, and it's all depending on like which angle you're viewing the tragedy or the situation from. And that alienated half the audience who was there for the Joel wish fulfillment of feeling powerful. But those people can also go back to playing Call of Duty every year.
Yeah. Which, to be clear,
Wow,
we
shots
are all...
fired at Call of Duty.
It's okay. Call of Duty can handle shots fired.
Yeah.
I mean, and to be clear, we all three of us are very much in the camp of like narrative fulfillment is king. Like The Last of Us
Narrative
Part
transportation.
2, narrative transportation is king. Is king. Like that's The Last of Us Part 2 is basically a perfect game. So yeah.
I don't have to agree with I'm in the camp of like I basically love almost every movie and every show I watch, even if they're not all equally good, obviously, right? But the reason I love is because they're all giving me perspective to worlds that I don't know, perspectives that I don't know, characters that I've never seen in my real life. So it's like reading. It's just an opportunity to see new perspective, and you don't have to agree with it. It's just an opportunity to challenge yourself to say, do I agree with some of what they said or not? I'm going to adopt part of it to grow as a person, and then I'm going to move on to the next story. And people that just want wish fulfillment, that is a form of entertainment that is also good. But I prefer narrative transportation because I want to keep growing as a person and self-reflecting and tearing out the parts of myself I don't like. And it's easy to do that when a game holds a mirror up to me and says, well, this is what this character is doing. If you relate to it in some way and you didn't like the moral of the story or how this character was treated at the end of it, maybe you need to reevaluate the way that you act in real life and change that. That is like, if narratives aren't challenging you, then I don't know what to say. It just sounds like you're consuming media, complacently. And I just don't think that's the best use of storytelling.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know.
no.
Put an exclamation point on that. Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like this is the perfect transition into talking about this game affecting us as a whole. So I don't know if you have anything else you wanted to talk about, Shan. You're the...
No. Well, I was just going to mention Terminator 2, Aliens, Mad Max Fury Road, Dark Knight, Star Wars Last Jedi, Legend of
Shrek
Zelda
2.
Majora's Mask, Silent Hill 2, all of these I would qualify as transformative sequels that did something radically different from the predecessors in a way that it lived in the old world but created completely new life that we've come to love. And those are some of the best stories ever told. Anyway,
I mean, yeah, yes.
Yeah.
So I think Death Stranding 2 falls firmly in that camp of a very transformative sequel, where it creates something similar but different, that feels completely unique and builds upon what was set forth by the original.
And it's not a hard transition, because I feel like, I'm going to use Alien and Aliens example. Like, that is a big jump that was definitely for the better, because Alien is hard to get through. Aliens 2, you don't want to stop watching.
Oh, I loved Alien, the first one. I thought
Alien
it was
is
great.
good, but
It's slow, but it's really good.
The world building is unlike anything I've seen. Like H.R. Geiger's biomechanical designs of the xenomorphs, it's like who creates it? It's like Blade Runner. It's like, how did they create an entire world from almost like nothing that existed before it, all in one cohesive world? It's brilliant, but the horror aspect of the storytelling falls flat and it's a little boring, and you can't say it's cliche because this is before these things were necessarily established as cliche. But the thing that I get hung up on is like the following the cat to save the cat, and then the xenomorph eats. It's like, the xenomorph's on the ship. why go chase the cat? You're obviously going to die. Like, some of these things just seem like such
Have you not seen
cheap
movies
writing.
before? Yeah.
So anyway, I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that between Death Stranding 1 and Death Stranding 2, it's not a sharp change. It flows very well into each other. It feels it's transformative, but probably maybe outside of The Last of Us and maybe on par with The Last of Us, it's the most cohesive transformation you get from a game to game.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. It's just, there's not it's not Assassin's Creed 1 was, fun sometimes and arduous the other 99% of the time. And then Assassin's Creed 2 where it's like, oh, they fixed everything I hated.
Assassin's Creed 2 rules.
Yeah.
We can talk about that another day. That's a good one.
But yeah, and so like that's a stark difference where this felt outside of the additional combat in this game, it feels like, okay, Kojima knew what he wanted to do with the second game, and it wasn't, oh, the first game flopped, I'm gonna have to reinvent it to engage these new set of gamers. It was, nope, I knew exactly what I had. I knew what the story I wanted to tell. Listened to the community a little bit, added more combat, and that's this game, and just really appreciate it.
All right, so Tucker, you said you wanted to get into some of these open-ended questions about the story, or did you have any in mind?
No, I was more talking of just how it affected us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of my questions is how did, between the first and the second game, well, let's start off, which one do you prefer? Death Stranding 1 or 2?
I prefer 2.
Okay.
I think there's a little bit more questions of morality in it. And not like sexual morality, but just like, just as human beings.
Nobody thought you were thinking.
What is sexual morality? What does that mean?
Sexual morality?
Yeah, I don't know.
It means keep your dick in your pants.
Yeah. Like the
I
morality
think that was just you,
police.
Tucker. No one else was thinking that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. We do a thing in the church that
Sometimes you see what you want to see.
villainize sex.
It's okay.
No,
Most
I guess-
gamers are godless, so
Yeah.
they don't understand what you're
They
talking
don't
about.
get that. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Or there's incels and it's what is sex.
No, they know they choose not to engage in sex because they think that they don't. Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's
incel is involuntarily. That's the in.
Yes, but then like there's a hierarchy to incel culture. That's like, okay, well, sixes deserve sixes, sevens deserve sevens, and you basically categorize yourself. You try to look smacks, but you know your number, you know what you are capable of having, and you can't go above it. And like there's this whole apparatus and ideology wrapped around.
I have no idea what
culture.
you guys are talking about right now.
It's ridiculous. It's crazy.
Okay, so they're, I guess, more complicated. Like the first game is, okay, this game is about connection. Connection is important. Why is it important? This one, I felt like there's a lot more sub themes that made me examine myself and my life a little bit more than the first game.
I think I'd have to say that it's probably Death Stranding 2, but it's a pretty close run. I think the Death Stranding 1, I found the story as a whole to be more unpredictable. I like the reveal at the end when finding out that Cliff Unger is Sam's dad, and just like the overarching themes of fatherhood and connection, and kind of like those reveals all hit hard and were amazing. But I feel like the second game, I was more actively engaged with the story and trying to like see what was going on. I really, really enjoyed Higgs in this game a lot more. I think that letting him be a little more mustache twirlingly evil was really satisfying to watch. And when it comes down to it, just instance after instance of the badass boogaloo. I just can't I can't, place number one over number two just because of Die Hardman's dance and the shirtless guitar battle on the top of while the world crumbles around you. It does not get better than that. That's one of the coolest moments I've ever experienced in a video game. And because of that moment alone, I can't put Death Stranding 1 above Death Stranding 2 because it's just so badass. It was so cool.
I think as a cohesive work, Death Stranding 1 was basically flawless. Maybe you could argue some pacing issues, but at least it served the narrative to pace it in that way. Whereas Death Stranding 2 had better moments and a better climax. That being said, obviously, I'm comparing getting Lou back to finding out Cliff is the father. Those are so powerful, but there's just something so intrinsically heartwarming about getting a child back as opposed to finding out someone's his father. That it's like if I could just take the climax of part 2 and some of the most badass moments of part 2, but the cohesion of Death Stranding 1, I would have my perfect game. But each individually, I can think of them as perfect in their own ways, but I would probably give deference to Death Stranding 1 because it was more cohesive and it didn't have Dollman destroying things.
Yeah, Dollman. Dollman is a pretty hard notch against Death Stranding 2.
I would give this game almost an 11 and he knocks it down to a 10. That's what he does to this story. He
bumping it down a whole letter grade. Yeah. We can talk about it all day, but everything that he does it was a baffling. I don't get it.
And the reason I would allow stories and games to make mistakes and I wouldn't knock it points. I would find a way to say this is just this artist's version of whatever it is, and so I'll like it for what it is. Dollman was just such an obtuse, ham-fisted way to shoot yourself in the foot, and it's how did you not see that and change it before it was too late? It was such a self-own.
Yeah, I like the idea of Dollman. I liked it in the beginning of the game because I thought he was pretty good, and they just went overboard and hated him very fast. But yeah, I like the idea of Dollman. Just the execution of the exposition he's giving it when he's giving it leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah, I think that if Dollman talked 80% less, didn't he just didn't chime in and solve puzzles for you or tell you every single time you dropped a package. Sam, I think you I know, Dollman, I dropped a package. It just made my blood boil. And then him giving away the whole Sam's BB pod is empty. That's unforgivable. That was not an okay story choice. So if you got rid of that and you made Dollman talk less, I think he would have been a fine addition. He fits very well into the wacky, weird world of Death Stranding. And I like the concept of, in the first game, we were exploring all of these different concepts of how does the Death Stranding affect someone with no ha? How does it affect someone with no ka? How does it affect someone who, they're all of these different characters through Die Hardman or through Deadman and Lochna and Heartman, we're seeing how they affect these different things. I think Dollman was another example of that.
Mm-hmm. And necessary for this one specifically, and necessary because we need to know puppetry.
We need to know puppetry. So I think he served a purpose, and I understand why he was there, but I think he was overused in a way that negatively impacted the story in a pretty genuine way.
Yeah. Another reason I'd pick Death Stranding 1 is because, just being honest, I was devastated and changed as a person after finishing the first game. 2 weeks plus after finishing it, it was my every thought was this game and what it meant and how it changed my life. This one, it's that was a beautiful story. I loved having it told to me, but it didn't change me as a story because the theme and the of the story and the message didn't mean anything to me that I needed right now.
Yeah, Death Stranding 1 came in at a time of your life where you needed that message and it was super impactful for you and all that. So I use the argument where it's like the best game I've ever played and my favorite game are different things. My favorite game is always going to be Ocarina of Time because that happened to me at an important time and it served an important purpose for me. But I've played games that are better and more fun than Ocarina of Time. But that's my favorite game. So best and favorite are different.
And I personally haven't had such big devastating loss and the feeling of isolation in my life that I felt like this game was addressing some hole in my life that needed to be patched. I had lost my closest relative that I had lost was my aunt like a year and a half ago, but I'm curious, you don't have to get too serious if that's not what you want to explore, but like, have either of you experienced isolation or loss such that this game felt like it was resonant with you, or did you feel like it just was a story about that and you didn't feel like it touched on how you needed to process your own emotions of something that's happened to you?
So
do you want to go first,
I yes and no, kind of. I actually felt a little more like Death Stranding 1 addressed something like that in me. And it was not the first time I played it because when the first time I played it, this thing hadn't happened yet. But so I don't have to tiptoe around it. A few years ago, my mom died. She had cancer and passed away, and it was awful. And when playing Death Stranding 1, it kind of like you feel this after the fact loss of Sam's father, and because of that relationship of a child to a parent, that felt more poignant to me, and like it was kind of helping a part of that after I re-experienced the story again for the second time. And this one, because I haven't lost a child, it didn't feel exactly the same way, like it was addressing those issues in the same way. But I found healing for that in a lot of other places. There have been a lot of other stories and pieces of media that I've experienced that helped that part of my soul that got broken when my mother passed. And so Death Stranding 2 didn't really do that for me because I feel like I've done a lot of the healing for that part of my soul already. Random things will just bring it to the surface though, and so sometimes it get caught off guard by big emotions coming out of nowhere. But I think that Death Stranding 2 does a beautiful job of addressing loss, and I think that if for people who have lost children or who have lost, young people in their life like that, I can imagine that this would be very impactful for them. And I hope that this game, if you've experienced it in this podcast, if you've experienced it, helps with that, because I can't imagine that just, losing a parent is hard, but losing a child would be devastating.
Yeah, so for me, it wasn't so much the loss part of this game. So I'm gonna go off on a big tangent and just work my way back to here, just to give some background. So I'm kind of a big crybaby sometimes when it comes to consuming media. So like this game, bawled like a baby. I Am Sam.
You're not alone.
I cannot watch I Am Sam again because I cried the entire movie. I'm not sure if you guys seen I Am Sam.
No, I've seen clips though, and I can't deal with it. Like I was just flipping through YouTube one day, and it showed me a clip, and I was like, "All right, I'm going to put that on my list of movies to never watch because I don't think I can emotionally handle it."
So I think it's Sean Penn. I'm trying to remember who plays Sam, who is a mentally handicapped father, and his daughter's mom, I think, dies, and so he's trying to have custody of his daughter, and his daughter is fighting for him too. And it is just like he just loves his daughter so much, and the state's taking him away. Anyway, terrible movie. I'm gonna cry thinking about it. It's actually a really good movie. It just makes me cry a lot. But anyway, so I can be super empathetic when I'm consuming media. So this game, I felt like I was living Sam's life hypothetically. So my daughter is roughly the same age as Lou in this game, and so baby Lou. And so it was very it was very easy to empathize with Sam, because it's like, okay, if I'm Sam, I now have this experience of raising a baby, having this 1-year-old, and then thinking of, okay, if this gets ripped away from me, how am I going to feel? And that was just so, those emotions were so readily there playing this game. So it wasn't an actual loss for this game of why it means so much to me, but it's imagining losing what I do have made me appreciate what I have so much more. I think you guys and any parent can understand, like, sometimes you are sick of the crying, sick of, kids being kids. That it's just like, oh, what did I do? Did I make a huge mistake here? Just not positive mistake. Feelings surrounding your children. But then this game made me start to appreciate those things. I was late jumping on to record tonight because my daughter was having a hard time going to sleep. That would usually make me, pretty upset. Like, oh my gosh, why can't you just go to sleep like every other night? But this game is trying.
You're upset because you're tired. Everything would be better if you would just fall asleep. That's the most frustrating thing to deal with the baby, is when they get overtired and they're just screaming, and you're like, you're screaming because you're tired. Just stop screaming and everything will be fine.
Exactly. But just starting to enjoy those moments a little bit more and realize time is fleeting. Especially at the end of this game, Sam lost all these years that I'm super excited for and looking forward to with my daughter, and they're just gone. And so it's making me just be in the present a little bit more and not trying to get to the greener grass on the other side, but just appreciate the time I do have with my daughter. And that's where this game, it's not so much healing trauma, it's the through Sam's trauma and thinking about, if that was me, what would I do, makes me appreciate the time I have now even more.
When my oldest daughter, Gwen, she's 8 now, but when she was about 3, I was, we were at home, and my wife and I used to work alternating shifts. And so it was just one of us at home with Gwen when she was little. And I was just there by myself, and just me and her, and we were hanging out, and she just was like, Dad, why are you always on your phone? And I was like, oh, because you just need a wake up moment sometimes, where it's this game, was a wake up moment to help Tucker enjoy, try to be more present, enjoy moments. And that was a wake up moment for me, where it was why am I always on my phone? I've got this awesome little person that I'm in charge of, that I get to hang out with, that I helped make, I'll put my phone away. What do you want to do? You want to play blocks? Let's do it. What am I doing pooting around on my phone and letting you be a kid in front of my eyes while I just sit here and do nothing? And I'm not perfect, everybody's on their phone and being distracted and doing things when they shouldn't, but it's important to stop and spend time. If you've got kids, spend time with your kids, even just little things. I don't know. I have this bad tendency to kind of be a spoil sport, where my kids will be like, can we do this? I'm like, no, I don't want to do that right now. It's and it's no, that'll be a mess. I don't want to clean it up later. And I have to start catching myself to be like, sure, let's do it. We'll clean up the mess. That's fine.
Yeah. I aspire to be Bandit from Bluey.
Everybody does. He's too perfect.
Yeah.
How does he do it?
Perfectly flawed.
Yeah. If every father aspired to be Bandit, the world would be a better place.
Well, to be fair, we see Bandit in 8-minute chunks. We don't know what he's doing the rest of the day. No one can be that on all the time. He's too good. Bandit is the dad from Bluey, for all of you people who don't have children and are uncultured. Even if you don't have children, watch Bluey. That show rules.
Yeah, there's a huge growing presence of adults that are just into Bluey, with or without kids.
Yeah, because it's a phenomenal show.
I mean, we went through that with Adventure Time.
Yeah, but Adventure Time actually was for adults.
Bluey is better. Bluey is a better show than Adventure Time. I will never stop arguing that. It is a more smartly written, and anyways, we don't have to talk about that right now.
It's more Bluey. Perfect in its writing because it has clearly very talented writers, but Adventure Time was an epic and a saga, and
it was different. It was a different
and
thing.
it was wholly creative in a way that shows can't be creative, right? Like that guy Pendleton Ward straight up must have been taking acid every single episode.
It's a very weird, interesting show. Yeah.
So they accomplished
Midnight
different
Gospel,
things.
definitely worth a watch.
Oh, I've heard you guys keep telling me to watch that, and I've had it on my list forever. Midnight Gospel, and I'll make another note.
Yeah, that one will wreck you.
Yeah, the last episode kills me every single time, but it's
the mother
so
one
healing too. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the thing? I'm trying to think of something that I watched the other day that just messed me up. Oh, it was that the Ted Danson show, the Man on the Inside. It's an amazing show. That was one of the ones where, as previously mentioned, sometimes big emotions will just erupt out of me that I wasn't expecting to happen. That show made that happen a couple of times where I was like watching this. Ted Danson will always do that to you, where I'm just like and it happened to me a couple of times watching The Good Place. Just like watching a show, enjoying it being funny, and then it's just like, hey, do you want to cry forever?
Well, Ted Danson is the master of going from like comedic or big or in a crisis to still and introspective and serious. And when he puts on the gravitas of being serious, you're like, oh, I'm learning a life lesson right now. And then you'll start sobbing in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
For me, it was the moment he pushes what's her name? Kristen Bell's character through Eleanor Shropsky through the portal.
Gosh,
I was like,
watch The Good Place, everybody. That show is one of the best, most cleverly written shows I've ever seen. It is a interesting view of the afterlife and of characters and how they develop. It's just a very, very well written, fulfilling show. That's a good one. Watch The Good Place.
My mom didn't like it because it didn't represent the afterlife as she understood it from her own personal religion. And I was like, that's not a good reason.
That's not the point of the show. Yeah.
like
missing the forest for the trees there. Yeah.
Was it supposed to was it supposed to study every single world of religion and find out which one was the most true and then depict it, and you were supposed to be validated that it happened to align with your understanding of the afterlife from your own religion? The expectations there were insane. I thought it was an interesting thought experiment of what if things were perfect all the time? You would get bored. This is very important thought experiments that people just don't entertain, which again is the point of narrative transportation. It's okay if it's not what you believe. The point is to challenge you so that you think more about life, and then you can move on because you don't fully agree with it. That's fine.
Yeah.
It was a stupid reason to not like the show.
It is a silly reason. Yeah. I think it genuinely might be my favorite show. I just think it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I guess I can skip most of these questions and just ask Game of the Year. What do you think?
I wonder if Death Stranding 2 is a little bit too niche to win Game of the Year. I think that Death Stranding 2 probably reached more people than DS1 did. I think it's generally received a warmer reception. Death Stranding 1 was a smidge divisive. So I think it could be. What else is coming? I mean, Claire Obscure is going to be a tough one to beat this year. The internet is in love with that one. Yeah,
Claire Obscure is going to win.
I think it's, unless something crazy happens in the next few months, I think Claire Obscure probably has a lock. But Death Stranding 1, I mean, has got a few performances in there that could win Best Performance.
Yeah, it could win Best Performance.
Nothing like Mads Mikkelsen in the first game. But
I don't know if Best Graphics is probably a category, but there's several things that it will win. But Game of the Year belongs to Claire Obscure, in my opinion. Yeah. And this isn't just a corner of the internet that you're getting misrepresentative overvoting and circle jerking on. Objectively, this game, Claire Obscure, which we'll cover next, we've decided it's
for those of you who stayed to the end of the episode, now you know what's coming.
2 weeks ahead of time. No, tells a completely original, beautiful story in a completely painterly, like unique, brilliant world. It's refined JRPG mechanics in a way that needed to be overhauled, and it comes at a time critical in the games industry where it makes a statement saying you can do this with 50 people or so. Like, same reason that I think Astrobot won was because it made that statement as well.
Yeah.
Here's a model
Also,
for
great use
creating...
of the word painterly, because that tracks very well with...
Very literally painterly.
Yeah.
I haven't finished Clair Obscur yet, but I've started playing it. I'm really excited to talk about it. I have lots and lots of thoughts as a person who hasn't always resonated with JRPGs. I have lots of thoughts about Clair Obscur and why it avoids a lot of the negative tropes that keep me from loving JRPGs.
Yeah, I don't feel like yes, we can be very satisfied with the narrative of Death Stranding 2, but you can't hang Game of the Year alone on narrative, and other than that, it didn't innovate enough from Death Stranding 1 to merit a completely new entry into Game of the Year, in my opinion. Whereas Clair Obscur, completely everything it did was novel in some way that needed to be novel, and in a whole tight package that was beautiful.
Yeah, I think maybe in another year it would, Death Stranding 2 would have a solid chance, but
I feel like there have been a lot of good games this year, though. I mean, like Donkey Kong Bonanza, probably not Game of the Year, but that's a super cool game. Clair Obscur is great. This, Death Stranding 2 is a really great game. It's Mario Kart World is also really good. Definitely not Game of the Year, but maybe like best racing game for the year.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. Kirby Air Riders comes out in a few months. That looks pretty cool too. So, but yeah, it's been a good year for gaming so far. Lots of solid games. I'm having a hard time keeping up. I've been playing through UFO 50, and that was a mistake. I bought it, and I was like, for when I have downtime. It's 50 games. Why did I do that?
Yeah. There is like a tragedy in the games industry right now where people are getting laid off. That shouldn't happen, or it's tragic that it is happening when they are like a lot of things are profitable, and it's just like a mismatch of ambition
Microsoft.
Ambition to budget and stuff like that, and just like some mismanagement. But really, it's just because a lot of these companies are listed on the stock exchange and they have to maximize shareholder value. So they're theoretically, assuming the money is fungible, they're probably taking and reallocating some of their money to AI because that returns a higher return on investment than does something like gaming that has plateaued. So these games can be profitable, and then you'll get a Tango frame game work that just shuts down anyway, right? Like, it's not enough because it's not returning 2 to 3 to 5x return on investment like it used to. Now you can get that from AI, so push all of your resources into that. That's the tragedy of being publicly listed. Especially when you have a holding company or a parent company like Microsoft that sucks ass.
Yeah, they have just been the harbingers of death lately. Those guys... It's not a good look. Just canceling games, shutting down studios. It's like, what is going on over there, Xbox? Maybe we should do a whole episode about just kind of the landscape of AAA games. That might be an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
It's what Call of Duty, and that's
Battlefield is coming back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Sea of Thieves, the first quadruple A game.
I wouldn't mind like the current pacing of games, because then it creates more monocultural moments where people are playing the same things and gets people to unite. On the other hand, we're in this space where we're back to a more sclerotic pace of game releases, similar to how it used to be before like PS2 era. On the other hand, the games are safer than they've ever been, and they're not pushing boundaries like a Clair Obscur did, whereas people would say Baldur's Gate, but I never played that one. Just like, so it's like, can we get fewer entries, but have them be bigger and bolder and more original? Not necessarily in duration, but just like more creative. That's what I would like, somewhere in between. But if we're going to get that from people getting laid off and then going into the indies scene and then creating novel concepts for smaller budgets, I think that's just how it's going to go.
I'm kind of fine with indie games and AA games taking over, and then the odd, I'd be fine with that. Let's do it. I've been deeply impressed with Clair Obscur so far. If that's something that a AA studio can do, then yes, more of that.
Yes.
Passionate people creating things that they're passionate about. That's what I want.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, that's going to do it for us today. Please like, comment, subscribe. You can find us wherever you find podcasts. Please join us next week for an episode where we're probably just going to give, like, Are You Googly of the Switch 1 and what we loved about it, some anecdotes from that. It's going to be a break from these beat-by-beat story breakdowns. Yep.
I wore the wrong shirt this week. I wore my Nintendo shirt today. I'll wear it again next week. It'll be fine.
And that's just going to be a breather from us before we get into another narrative-driven game that's going to take, too much of my life preparing for these episodes. But anyway, bye.
That's
everyone.
why we love you, Shan. We appreciate it. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Outro. Bleep-a-doof, bleep-a-deep, bloop-a-dee-blow.